A lot happened in the September window, so let's just get into it, shall we? We start with the return of everyone's favorite confederation, CONMEBOL. Going into the 7th match day, Argentina was leading with Uruguay 2 points behind them. Meanwhile, the yellow, blue, and red brigade of Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador filled out 3rd to 5th. Brazil, on the other hand, had been off to an underwhelming start, but in the first month of this year, they replaced their underwhelming manager with Dorival Jr. Right below them in the playoff spot was Paraguay, who appointed Gustavo Alfaro a month before the window. Finally, the teams outside looking in include Chile, Bolivia, and Peru, who is still winless and actually hasn't defeated a South American opponent in almost 2 years now. The Sea Level Merchants were back home to start the window, and this time they played in El Alto, which literally means the tall in Spanish. The city is 13,620 feet above sea level. That is over 1,600 more feet than La Paz. This is actually starting to get out of hand. Next thing you know, Nepal is going to be playing in f***ing Everest in the next cycle. And some of you might be wondering, does this affect the ball? To answer your question, yes it does. With scrambled brains and some level of asphyxiation probably, Monotengo was absolutely no match for the Mountain Dwellers as Bolivia won 4-0. Over in Buenos Aires, Julian Alvarez nonchalantly scored this insane goal and Argentina made easy work of Chile. CONMEBOL suspended Uruguay's Darwin Núñez for 5 games simply because he was trying to protect his family, because God forbid the Federation and the Charlotte Police Department couldn't. This was a massive hit to Uruguay's strong campaign so far, as Núñez was not only their top scorer, but the competition's top scorer, and it showed as Uruguay collected 2 goalless draws this window. Despite a new coach, the struggles continued for Brazil as they just escaped Ecuador with a 1-0 win at home. And after 68 minutes played in Lima, the Peruvians were once again able to dream as Alexander Callens puts his team up against Colombia, and then Luis Diaz equalized 14 minutes later. By the way, as you know, the footage of the highlights look kind of low quality. That's mainly to avoid copyright claims. However, if you become a member on my website, you can go from this view to this. Trust me, it's a much better experience, and you also have the option of watching my videos earlier and without ads. So for more information, just click the annotations or the link in the description. Into the next match day, and we'd witness a rematch of the Copa America final. And in just 25 minutes, the freaky man Yerson Mosquera gives Colombia the advantage. Argentina's Nico Gonzalez would not let that slide, however. He flies past Mosquera and slots home the equalizer minutes into the second half. Then, 12 minutes later, Colombia forced their way into the box, and Otamendi makes an error in judgment. James Rodriguez makes no mistake from the box, and Colombia hold on to the win. Their mothers are from Italy, their grandfathers are probably SS soldiers, but their passport says Argentina. Ole! Chile and Bolivia played out a bit earlier, and in just 13 minutes, Bolivia stunned everyone again. But you must never forget, these men are the Sea Level Merchants. They may be prime Barcelona in the crowds, but they're worse than Guam on soil. However, right before halftime, the altitude amateurs open up Chile's god-awful defense once more, and the Sea Level Merchants score again. Wait, what? Wait, what? They won? At under 2,000 feet altitude? That's right. It has never been more over for South American football. Bolivia has evolved. This is in fact their first win away from home since 1993. This kid Terceros is really good, by the way. Ecuador were pretty unlucky not to get a result in Brazil, but they did manage to beat Peru at home thanks to a single goal from Ener Valencia. Speaking of Brazil, head coach Dorival Jr., hours before the second game of the window, made a claim about how Brazil will be in the World Cup final. He added, "You can film me while I'm saying this. I have no doubts. We will be there." Revoke the passports of him and every player on this team now! There is a saying, club success doesn't necessarily mean international success, and it has once again been validated, because Brazil have a Ballon d'Or candidate that plays for Real Madrid on this team. And he's f***ing terrible. This is genuinely the worst Brazilian team I've ever seen.
Hello, Ian. Long time no see.
But I have to say, Gustavo Alfaro strikes again. The journeyman simply cannot be stopped, and he has single-handedly revived Paraguay's World Cup campaign going forward. And so, after yet another eventful CONMEBOL window, here are your standings now. Argentina still maintain a 2-point lead up top. Colombia hop over Uruguay after that emphatic win over the current table leaders. Ecuador, with a single win, slides into 4th. Brazil, despite yet another severely underwhelming window, do actually go up a spot because they earn more points than Venezuela. However, they are closer to danger more than ever, as 7th place Paraguay are just 1 point below them. But funnily enough, tied on points with the Paraguayans is Bolivia, who have actually scored the 3rd most goals so far. This might be the funniest team in the region right now. Meanwhile, Chile dropped to 9th. They have not won a qualifier in nearly a year. It's even worse for bottom place Peru though, because they haven't even won. But you know what's even crazier? This is the first window in the 2026 cycle that hasn't seen a red card in any of the South American fixtures. The West has fallen. Welcome to glorious Oceania, where we only know there's islands there because of these geometric shapes. But finally, Oceania begins their World Cup cycle. And reminder, they actually will have at least one team in this tournament. For now though, it's just the first round. And here we have the 4 worst ranked teams playing in a knockout round. You got semifinals, the teams that win that go on to the final, and the winner of the final moves on to the second round. So only one team actually escapes the first round here. Now, before we go into any of the results though, we have some new representatives to meet. We'll start with the worst ranked of the 4, Tonga. Tonga have never qualified for the World Cup, and they also have never made it past the first round. And funnily enough, I actually learned this while doing research. I don't even think this is really funny. This is actually fucking terrible. They rank 3rd for highest natural disaster risk of any country in the world. I mean, the country suffered a volcanic eruption and a tsunami in 2022. And of course, this makes it even harder for the country to actually flourish in the beautiful game. But the Tonga FA has made strides by building new facilities, not only for football, but the community, as they are built to withhold natural disasters as well. And now more than ever, the children of Tonga can actually play grassroots football. Only time will tell if this translates into international success though. Samoa has never qualified for the World Cup, but have made it to the second round twice. They've also made 3 appearances in the OFC Nations Cup, but have never made it past the group stages. There's also a pretty significant diaspora of Samoans in New Zealand, which is why a lot of them play in the New Zealand leagues. And on the topic of New Zealand, there's a club in Samoa called Kiwi FC, and this might be the funniest batch in the series so far.
Hello everyone, it is I from post-production. I just wanted to mention how while I was editing this video, I learned that Sepp Blatter was given the title of Teleafoa, which is something primarily given to chiefs, and this was during his visit. He also wore some clothes during his visit. Now brace yourselves for this one, because, let me tell you, your eyes won't be the same after this.
American Samoa has never qualified for the World Cup and has never made it past the first round. And of course, they're most well known for their infamous loss to Australia, 31-0. However, in November 2011, the team won its first game in 28 years. This would give birth to a documentary in 2014, and a not-so-great movie in 2023. One of the goal scorers in that win, though, was 17-year-old Shalom Luwani, who went on to play in the NFL for 5 years. And the team was guided by head coach Thomas Rongen, and he will be returning to coach the team again in this window. The Cook Islands, unfortunately, they do not live up to their name and have never qualified for the World Cup, and they've also never made it past the first round. And honestly, in the last decade, it's been pretty tough for the Cookians. Yes, that's actually what you call the people of the Cook Islands. After a loss to American Samoa in 2015, the national team didn't play another game until March 2022. Their form has suffered because of it, but with the recent win versus Tonga, it could give them a morale boost. We start with Cook Islands versus Tonga, and God damn, those are some beautiful looking shirts. Tonga, though, would go on to win this pretty comfortably with a 3-1 result. Just a couple hours later, the Samoan derby was played out, and it would once again be Samoa to get the better of their little brothers. No Rongen magic this time, as Samoa won 2-0. So it all came down to a final between Tonga and Samoa. The winner would be advancing to the second round. Tonga took the lead right before halftime, but then in the 82nd minute, Luke Salisbury would score a wonder goal to equalize for the Samoans. The game then went to extra time, and in the 105th minute, Jefferson Fatmato would send his nation to the next round. It's time for Asian qualifiers, and it was like it was just yesterday I was giving you lore about the Guam national team, and now we've arrived at the third round. There are just 18 teams remaining now who will battle for a ticket to North America. We'll have to see whether or not Iraq qualifies and George Bush is still alive by then, but for now, let's go over the new format. In the third round, you'll see 3 groups with 6 teams each. In each group, the top 2 will automatically qualify for the World Cup, while 3rd and 4th will move on to the 4th round for a chance at redemption. We'll start with Group A, which had Iran, Qatar, Uzbekistan, UAE, Kyrgyzstan, and North Korea. Uzbekistan started their campaign really well as they took an early lead versus North Korea. However, just 17 minutes later, North Korea wins a penalty, but it's saved by the keeper. The Uzbeks would go on to win this one and earn all 3 points. Iran also collected a win after beating Kyrgyzstan 1-0 at home. Qatar versus UAE followed with referee Sean Evans. The UAE had not beaten Qatar since 2015. This definitely was not the night things would change as the Qataris scored early on. However, come the second half, the UAE went full guns blazing and scored 3 unanswered to stun the home crowd. Qatar then played North Korea in Laos. And I don't know what the these North Koreans have been squatting, but it appears they have a new missile program. But fear not, Qataris. Give me penalty, says Akram Afif, and Qatar equalize. 13 minutes later, Almoez Ali thumps it into the net, and next thing you know, someone sent the monsoons. But that was no match for the 10-men North Koreans and their thunder thighs. I mean, seriously, even the keeper was trying to score from the other side of the pitch. Anyways, nothing could separate the two. North Korea gets a valuable draw, while Qatar are in trouble. Indians most definitely have been eating good so far.
Damn.
Over to Bishkek, we saw a thrilling duel in Central Asia as both Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan traded blows throughout the first half. Then with the game tied 2 apiece, Ostan Uranov with some sweet technique blasts it home to give Uzbekistan another 3 points in the window. Finally, to end off Group A in September, Iran did just enough to beat UAE away from home to earn 6-6 as well. So looking at the table now, Uzbekistan just edges Iran thanks to the goal scored tiebreaker. UAE is just behind the top 2 with North Korea rounding off your top 4. In Group B, we have South Korea, Iraq, Jordan, Oman, Palestine, and Kuwait. After a showing of South Korean ineptitude in front of goal and some incredible Palestinian resistance, we witnessed the first 0-0 result of the third round. All the while that was happening, head coach Hong Myung-bo was booed to oblivion and fans were already calling for his head. Palestine, though, can be super optimistic, having stolen a point away from an Asian giant.
Because the war, we didn't do camping. The players, it wasn't with us all this time. Like me, I'm without a team for 1 year because the war, the league is stopped in Palestine. So I train alone, I train with my friends, and I have responsibility to be here and to play this match and to take 1 point and to start the qualifier with 1 point. We're so proud, we did very well.
Meanwhile in Basra, Iraq collected a 1-0 victory thanks to a goal from Ayman Hussein, who just continues to be on a tear in 2024. Jordan are most definitely a dark horse to qualify after their Asian Cup performances and a recent win versus Saudi Arabia. Things were looking really good for the Jordanians, but then a little too much of a tug on the shirts and Kuwait spoiled the party in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Jordan did at least manage to right their wrongs with a solid 3-1 win against Palestine. South Korea also redeemed themselves after Son Heung-min scored the winner against Oman with just 8 minutes left. Then to end off September for Group B, Kuwait and Iraq played out a goalless draw. Already, it's a close race for the top spot in Group B. Jordan sit first thanks to the goal scored tiebreaker with South Korea and Iraq just behind them. Meanwhile, Kuwait finishes up your top 4. Finally, the last group: Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, China, and Indonesia. This is honestly the most exciting one. And it all started with Japan putting 7 past China. And let me tell you, this isn't the first time Japan's had no regard for Chinese life. Australia, on the other hand, gave its fans a showing of utter shit. And even the football gods couldn't allow this as Bahrain steal away victory because of an own goal.
Tomorrow I'm doing 9/11.
For Indonesia, this was their first time in the 3rd round, but it didn't appear that way as they took the lead against Saudi Arabia just 18 minutes in. However, Saudi Arabia responded right before halftime thanks to a deflection. They then had the fortune of Indonesia's keeper Martin Paes conceding a penalty with just 14 minutes remaining. However, the penalty is pretty ass and Indonesia steal a point away in a very impressive debut. Speaking of debuts, aside from the near match-costing error, Martin Paes was phenomenal in this match, making 3 crucial saves. Also, since he's played, FC Dallas has absolutely exploded on social media. I can understand Tokyo Verdy, Cerezo Osaka, even Oxford United. Dallas? Indonesia then went back home to a rocking atmosphere, kept that same gritty style, and managed a draw with a severely underwhelming Aussie side.
Be a lot of questions at home, obviously, after failing to score and failing to beat teams that probably, well, definitely ranked lower in the world. Yep. What message you want to pass on in terms of why that didn't happen and what we can look forward to?
Yeah, look, I can only do so much. I can't play.
Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia continues to struggle as they concede early to China. This is the same Chinese side that just hours prior banned 43 people for life over allegations of match fixing. And to make things even worse, a Saudi pulls a Beckham, and now the team's down to 10 men. Nevertheless, Saudi Arabia finds an equalizer off a corner in the 38th minute, and then a winner off another corner in the 90th. Finally, we witness Japan destroy Bahrain 5-0. God knows where this team was in the Asian Cup. Group C is currently occupied by the Japanese. That is yet another World War II joke. I'm gonna need to stop now. Saudi Arabia haven't been amazing this window, but still have managed to place second so far, while third and fourth is surprisingly held by Bahrain and Indonesia, mainly because China and Australia are underwhelming beyond comprehension. But hey, you know, how has Vietnam been doing this window?
Sút bóng. Nguy hiểm. 2-0.
And that was your World Cup qualifiers September review. This one was a lot more fun just because, you know, there were more teams playing and there was definitely a lot more content. But how are your teams doing so far in World Cup qualifiers? I can't wait to read the comments where it's either you're jubilant, happy, excited for the World Cup, or wanting to end it all. A moment of silence for all our Peruvian fans. But anyways, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, Brazilian Fury, Respected Jeff, Uthman JN, Habakkuk, Anazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kit, Sniffers, Takuoka Fan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kenshiro Gatra, Big Boris the Baby Eater II, Kerbo, Unkwell, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Ryan Jans, Wise Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, LeJames Braun, Samu, Just MRC, Cheesebait, Cooper Rory, The Somali Pirate, Claymore Roomba, Winder Gel, M4 Dust Stuff, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portergeyser, TPSK25, Polar Protos, Von Fan, Lucian Von Kreuz, Ethan Bennett Loskovica, Gazagos Presikovics, Mono Tango Fei, Adrian, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Mud Tanai, Nava, Chris Visconti, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Kress, Mohammed Altanib, Niche, Patrick Barley, Raspberry God 5, Raspberry Ale, subscribe to Tendington, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, there'll be a link in the description below and up in the annotations. You can also follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch. I will stream at some point. I want to do some GeoGuessr, some stuff like that. But anyways, until then, I'll see you guys.